Hey, this is Steve with Dabble Lab, and in this tutorial I'm going to walk through setting up the ASK CLI 2.0, so the latest version of the ASK CLI as of June 2020. But before getting into this, as usual, this stuff changes very frequently and these tutorials are frequently updated, so check the notes to see if there's a link to a more current version, and if there is, follow that link and watch that video. If you're watching this on dabblelab.com, or if you follow the link to get to this video, then you should be watching the most current version. All right, with that, I'm starting at the documentation for the new CLI, and I have an existing version installed. I have one of the 1.0 versions installed, and we're gonna first, I'm not even sure which version I have, but you can find out like this. So I've got 1.7.2.3, and reading through the docs, there's looks like a fair number of changes. So I looked over here, and the structure of the Alexa skill projects has changed. So there's definitely some considerations here, which is why I've held off on upgrading. But I'm going to take the plunge today. So we're gonna go through this. It looks like you can just do npm install, and looks like they want you to make sure that you have deployed all your skills so you don't lose any changes, and then install the latest version of the CLI, which is 2.0. Let's see what the quick start says. Let's see, set up an AWS IAM user. So if you're going to use AWS to host your Lambda backend, then you're going to need to set up AWS credentials, which I have already set up. But I'm going to just focus on, for this tutorial, I'm going to just focus on setting it up to work with Alexa hosted skills. So we won't need the AWS backend, at least for this here. Maybe I'll cover the AWS setup in another tutorial. Let's see, install and initialize the ASK CLI. Okay, on Windows, I'm working on a Mac, but on Windows, there's some notes here. You need to also have the Windows Build Tools package installed, which you can also install using npm. And okay, might need to use sudo or run PowerShell with administrator privileges, but let's I guess let's just do it. See what happens. So this, I guess the upgrade, you explicitly reference the 2.0. Let's see what happens if we don't do that. Even though I've got it installed, I guess I could uninstall it, which I think it'll make a difference. Let's find out. And here I go. I'm going to run it, see what happens. Seems to be working. All right. That was easy. Now I think I just need to get familiar with the changes, and I should be good to go. The one thing I noticed is one of the commands in the 1.0 CLI that I use quite a bit is the clone command. And I know that's changed, but I think you can still clone and copy existing stuff. Why don't I just start with like the new command, and we'll just see what happens with that. Yeah. So, and I know there's some new options here, so you can choose the programming language that you're going to use. I'm going to select Node.js, and then this is new. So which I really like here. So you can choose hosted, Alexa hosted, AWS with CloudFormation. This is new too, which I can't wait to dive into. I've done some of that from the AWS console, deployed Alexa skills with CloudFormation templates, and AWS Lambda. I think that is just sort of the traditional using AWS as the backend. And then self-hosted, manage your own. So I'm assuming that is if you're not using Lambda. I'm going to start with a hosted skill here. Type the name of the skill. How about demo skill? Oh, this is new too. I like this. Can name the folder. Before, it used to just take whatever name you gave it and it would create the folder name based on that, like replace the spaces with dashes. But I like that you can name the folder different than the skill name. Wait, so it didn't prompt me to log in or anything. So maybe it's using credentials from the CLI, the earlier version of the CLI. Or maybe I guess I'm going to find out in a second here. Maybe I just need to go back and use something like an init command or something like that. It's working. So yeah, I suppose it must be using the credentials from my previous install. The first time you use ASK CLI, you need to use ASK configure. So yeah, it must have gotten that from my old configuration. So if you're installing it for the first time, you need to run ASK configure, and that is gonna, looks like that's gonna pop open a browser to authenticate with your Amazon developer account. So that would be the account that you use to log into developer.amazon.com, and then optionally your AWS credentials. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So we have our demo skill project, and most of this looks familiar. There's no custom folder here, which used to be the way that it was set up by default in the previous version. Skill package, interaction models. So this used to just be in the models folder. So the directory structure has changed, but it doesn't look like a big deal. And I would bet that any changes here, you'll probably use, like, let's make a change and see before I say anything. Welcome. Well, let's look in the developer console first. And see what we can see. Here it is. This is it. Yeah. So let's see what happens here if I make changes and try to deploy them. All right, so we'll just let's change this to hello rather than welcome. Not a big change. And then we want to move into this folder. And ask deploy. Alexa hosted skills can be deployed by form. Yeah, so this is, yeah, so you just do git push. So I think if I do git push now, I'm going to have to do a git add and commit. Everything is up to date, so I'll say git add, git commit, minor change, and then git push. Okay. Let's go see. Change the invocation name. See what we have here. So there's our change. Hello. And it's deploying now. So that's how it works. That's how it worked before, but it just wasn't part of the CLI. You sort of had to go through and use an extra command to get it to work that way. Okay, so now I can just work from the command line here and use the CLI to deploy. Got that. Now let's try something new. Let's do ask new, and this time I'm going to try with AWS Lambda. I'll do, how many options do I have? Okay, just hello world, and the fact skill, I'll choose hello world. The name, world, and this time I'll call it hello world AWS. And then we'll try to deploy this one. And I am going to guess that it's also using my AWS credentials that I had set up previously. So if you haven't set those up, then you're going to want to go back over to the documentation here and follow the steps to create your AWS credentials. Let's see if that's the case. It looks like it's working, so I would assume that it is. Let's see. Okay. This skill package is deployed, so let's see if we can see it in here. This is it. Go over here. Okay, yeah, this is an Alexa hosted, so let's go to the AWS. And log in. Okay, from the AWS console, I will go to my lambda functions and see if I can find that function. Not yet. Oh, here it is. All right. And the last thing I want to try is to deploy using the CloudFormation templates. I want to see what that looks like. So let's give that a try. I'm going to use Node.js again. This time I'm going to use the AWS CloudFormation and use Hello World again. And I'll call it Hello World CF for CloudFormation. Folder name, Hello World CF. CloudFormation new deployer. I'm not sure what that's being used for, but let's take a look. All right, let's see. This is the CloudFormation template here, I think. Oh wait, maybe it's this. Actually, this is it. This is ASK resources. I guess this is used by the ASK CLI. This is new. I'm not sure about that. I'll need to look into that. Yeah, this is the CloudFormation template, though. All right. Let's see what happens when we try to deploy it. So I would assume that what we're going to see in here is if we go to CloudFormation, we'll see a stack, I would think, that gets created. Nothing yet. Let's go back over here. Looks like the skill is deployed. So here it is. I wonder if the skill is getting deployed as part of the CloudFormation stack, or if that is going through, let's look at this, if that's just going through the skill management API. Yeah, it looks like this is just the back end here. I don't see that. So I guess the skill gets deployed first, and then the back end gets deployed using the CloudFormation template. And here it is. So it's creating the stack now. And then it looks like it's done, so we can go see what it's doing here. creating the lambda functions, the IAM roles. Let's go see that. Yeah, so here it is here. All right. Good enough. So I'm going to need to dig into this a little bit more, and I'll follow up with some additional tutorials. But this I'm really interested in. The benefit of the CloudFormation templates is you can set up not just a Lambda function, but any other AWS resources that might be required for your skills backend. So commonly like DynamoDB or an S3 bucket, those kinds of things. And with this ability to use the CloudFormation templates and the ASK CLI, you'll be able to use the CLI, the ASK CLI, to deploy everything, which I really, really like the idea of that. And so, like I said, I'm going to dig into that a little bit more. This is just kind of my initial dive into it. Hopefully this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave those, and I'll follow up just as quickly as possible. And I will, again, follow up with hopefully some additional information as I get into it more myself. Thanks so much for watching.